The key they handed me bowed like cheap metal the second I tried to turn it, and I had to lean my whole damn weight into the knob like I was robbing myself. Room 17, second floor. Sunset Pines Motor Lodge. Painted in fading green cursive on a sign that buzzed even though half the letters were dead. No penis. No sunset. Just a strip of cracked asphalt behind a boarded-up diner and a car wash with weeds growing out of the bays like hair. My boss called it a quick clean-out on the phone, the way he always did when he wanted me to do something outside the job description for the same money. Rekey, swap a deadbolt, shut up, get paid. He didn't say motel. He didn't say old brass key with a plastic fob like it was 1982. He sure as hell didn't say room 17. I'm a locksmith, not a handyman, not a repo guy, not a cop. But the second you're the one person in a 10-mile radius who can make a lock give up without kicking a door in, everyone starts acting like your tool bag is a magic bag and your spine is a community resource. I stood there in the hallway with my shoulder pressed to that hollow door, listening to the place breathe. That sounds dramatic. I know how it sounds. But you know the hum hotels have. Ice machine, TVs, distant laughter, somebody's kid running. There was none of that. Just a dead, padded quiet like the carpet had eaten it all. The kind of quiet where your own swallow is loud enough to make you feel guilty. The key stuck halfway, scraped, stopped. The cylinder felt gritty, like sand had been poured inside. I wiggled it, cursed, and the fob slapped the door with a dull plastic tap. 17. The number was crooked on the door, like somebody had screwed it on drunk. The hallway light above it flickered slow, not frantic like a bad bulb, slow, patient like blinking. I jammed my shoulder into the wood, hard enough to rattle the frame. The bolt popped with a sound like a tooth snapping, and the door swung inward, not smooth, more like it had been leaning forward waiting to fall. The smell hit first, not rot, not piss, old cigarettes ground into damp carpet, plus something sour and metallic underneath, like you'd held pennies in your mouth and then spit them into lemon cleaner. Somebody had tried to cover it with that cheap industrial citrus stuff and failed. It just made it worse, like cologne over sweat. The room looked staged, bedspread tucked tight, that awful pattern kind that never feels clean. TV centered on a dresser, curtains pulled shut like somebody had made a point of it. Little motel art over the bed, some watercolor of a lake that didn't exist anywhere near here. And the air conditioner hummed. Not loud, not even steady, just that low motor thrum you feel in your teeth. The thing is, it was unplugged. I noticed because I always notice. It's not paranoia, it's habit. I've been in enough places where the safest thing is to know what's live and what isn't. I walked over, crouched, and held the cord in my hand like it was a snake. The plug dangled 2 inches from the outlet. Nothing connected. No battery. No weird. It's a hotel unit wired in behind the wall. Just a plug hanging, and it still hummed. I set my bag down slow, like sudden movements might wake something up. I told myself, old building, vibrations, the unit settling. I told myself, don't be a fucking child. Then I heard the bathroom sink. Drip, 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 except not from the faucet. The faucet was off. The handles were crusted with mineral buildup, like nobody had used them in weeks. The drip was coming from the underside of the mirror. A bead formed on the bottom edge of the glass, swelled, and fell into the porcelain basin like the mirror was sweating. I stepped closer. The mirror was speckled with old wipe marks, the kind housekeepers leave when they're rushing. In the middle, though, there was a clean streak like somebody had dragged a wet thumb down it, and then stopped. The bead dropped again. It wasn't water. It moved too slow. Thick. I wiped it with my thumb because I'm stupid like that, and the liquid felt slick, almost oily. It left a faint gray smear on my skin like graphite. I turned my thumb, rubbed it, tried to flick it off. It didn't come off. It just smeared wider, like the color wanted to live under my skin. Behind me, something clicked. I spun, half expecting a person. The room was empty. The motel phone on the nightstand, one of those beige bricks with big square buttons, had its red message light blinking. It hadn't been blinking when I came in. I would have noticed. It sat right next to my tools like it was in on the joke. I hate motel phones. They're always sticky, always too warm, always like you can feel strangers through them. But that blinking red dot pulled my eyes like a hook. I hit message. No normal voicemail beep. No, you have one new message. Just a faint hiss, like somebody breathing through clenched teeth. Then a voice came through, thin and wrecked, like it had been dragged over gravel. Found you. My finger stayed on the button because my brain stalled. It didn't sound like a recording. It sounded like a live line, tiny mouth noises, a swallow, a wet click like a tongue hitting the roof of a mouth. I hit speaker because anger makes you do dumb shit. I wanted it loud. I wanted to hear it clearly. I wanted to prove to myself I wasn't imagining it. The voice got louder. Found you, it said again. Found you in 17. The AC unit clicked, even though it still wasn't plugged in. The curtains twitched like somebody brushed them from behind. I yanked the handset off the cradle and checked the cord. It ran into the wall, disappearing behind a little plastic plate. I grabbed my flathead, popped the plate loose, and pulled it away. There was nothing behind it. No junction box. No wires. Just drywall and a hollow void like somebody had cut a hole and forgotten to finish the job. The phone cord vanished into emptiness like it had been fed into a mouth. The phone rang in my hand anyway. Not a modern ring. A slow, heavy bell like an old school. Each ring made the cheap plastic vibrate against my palm. I should have thrown it. I should have left. I should have listened to every alarm bell my body was trying to scream in my brain. Instead, I answered, "Yeah." I snapped. Who the fuck is this? Pause. Not dead air. Something moved far away, soft dragging over carpet. Underneath that, I heard another, fainter ring like someone else's phone was ringing along with mine. Then a voice came back, closer like it leaned in. "You took the key," it said. "You took my key." "I didn't take shit," I said, and my voice sounded too alive in that dead room. Too human, like blood in a freezer. "You opened," it said. "You opened doors." It said it like an accusation, like opening was a crime. My throat tightened. My brain did that fast, desperate math. Bad wiring, prank, squatter in the ceiling, hidden intercom. Anything but what it felt like. The voice stayed calm. "Clerk calm. Lost and found," it said. "Bring me back." I slammed the handset down. No click. The hiss continued, like the line stayed open. The message light blinked faster. I hit the cradle again, harder. Nothing. The hiss came through the speaker anyway. My hand started shaking, and I hate that about myself. I hate the way my body betrays me. I've been in worse situations than a creepy phone. I've had guns pointed at me over unpaid locksmith bills. I've opened doors for people sobbing so hard they could barely stand. I've seen shit, but that hiss crawled under my skin. So I did what I always do when I need to feel real. I went back to work. Metal is honest. Threads are honest. A screw either bites or it doesn't. If you focus on the mechanics, the world can't get weird. That's the lie I tell myself. I pulled the old cylinder. The screws fought like they'd been over-tightened on purpose. When it finally came loose, the metal felt warm, like it had been sitting in sunlight. It hadn't. I set it on the dresser. It rolled, not because the dresser was crooked. It rolled like something nudged it. I froze with my new cylinder in hand, staring at it like it might sprout legs. The bathroom drip sped up. Drip, drip, drip. It glanced over. The bathroom door was open wider than I remembered. I hadn't touched it. The mirror was sweating faster, the basin now holding a thin, slick puddle that didn't look like water. It reflected the ceiling light wrong, like oil. The phone rang again. This time the sound didn't come from the phone. It came from a wall behind the bed, like the studs themselves had a bell inside them. I backed up until my legs hit the mattress. The bed dipped under my weight. I didn't sit. My knees just quit, and the bed caught me like it had been waiting. "Stop," I said, and it came out a whisper. I hated that most. I hated giving it that. The curtains lifted at one corner, slow, like somebody pinched the fabric from behind and raised it to peek. Nobody's. No actini. Just a careful lift like fingers. I stared at that corner of curtain so hard my eyes watered. My mouth went dry. The fabric hovered. Then it dropped. The message light on the phone flicked off. The room went still for 3 seconds, and in those 3 seconds my brain tried to convince me it was over. That it was a glitch, a bad joke, some electrical thing. That I was being dramatic. Then the TV turned on. Static filled the screen. White snow, loud enough to make my teeth buzz. My whole jaw clenched on instinct. I reached for the remote on the dresser. No remote. The TV didn't have buttons on the front. Just a smooth black strip like a mouth. I yanked the power cord out of the back of the TV. The static didn't stop. The screen stayed bright. The sound kept blasting like the power cord was a suggestion. I backed away again, and the room shifted. Not the walls physically moving. More like my sense of distance bent. The door suddenly felt farther away. The dresser looked taller. The ceiling hung lower. Pressure built in my ears like I was going up in an elevator. The smell of pennies and cleaner got stronger, thick enough to taste. On the TV, the static thinned and a picture pushed through. A hallway. This hallway. Same carpet pattern, same dead lights, same flickering bulb near the crooked 17. The camera angle was low, like it had been set on the floor. It didn't move. It just watched. I stare because humans are wired to stare at screens, even when the screen is showing you a trap. Something slid into frame. At first, I thought it was a person crawling. Then my brain caught up. It moved wrong. Too smooth. Like joints weren't lined up. Like bones weren't under the skin where they should be. It dragged itself forward, leaving a wet smear on the carpet. Its head turned toward the camera in a slow, patient motion. Its face wasn't shadowed. It was clear. It looked like me. Not a perfect copy, like a bad reflection. My eyes sat too wide. My mouth sagged on one side like something had pulled it. My cheeks glistened, damp, like that mirror drip. The skin had a gray cast like it had been rubbed with pencil. On-screen me lifted a hand, reached toward the lens, and opened its fingers. The real ringing started again, and it synced with that movement like the thing on the screen was ringing me with its own hand. My chest burned. I grabbed my tool bag and ran for the door. The knob turned. The latch moved. The deadbolt slid. The chain wasn't on, but the door didn't open. It stayed sealed like it was glued to the frame. I slammed my shoulder into it once. Twice. The wood shuddered. Dust fell from the top molding. Still sealed. It didn't even creak like a stuck door. It just held, solid as a wall. Behind me, the TV hiss dropped into silence, so sudden my ears rang. In that quiet, a soft voice spoke, not from the phone, not from the TV, from the bathroom. "Bring me back," it said, like it was standing at the sink, looking at the sweating mirror. I spun, grabbed the bathroom handle, and yanked. The bathroom light flicked on. I hadn't touched the switch. The mirror was gone. Not shattered. Not covered. Gone. Just a rectangle of darker paint on the wall where it had hung, and 4 rusty screw holes oozing that slick, clear stuff into the basin like tears. And in the painted rectangle, there was a mark. A circle with a line through it. Like a keyhole symbol, the kind you see stamped on old motel keys. Somebody had carved it deep into the paint, through to the drywall. I leaned in before I could stop myself. The smell got stronger. My head swam. A quick dizzy roll like the room tipped. The carved symbol widened. Not like the paint cracked, like the drywall softened, like something pushed from behind it. A fingertip broke through. Gray skin. Vet. The nail black like it had been burned. It pushed, found purchase, and pulled. A hand came through. Then another. It wasn't climbing into the bathroom so much as it was trying to pull the wall open like a zipper. I grabbed the nearest thing, my wrench, and swung. The metal hit the wrist. The sound wasn't bone. It was like hitting a bag of damp flour. The hand recoiled, but it didn't retreat all the way. It just withdrew enough for the paint to stretch back into place like skin. I gagged, my mouth filled with spit. My stomach tried to empty itself. I swallowed hard, eyes burning, and stumbled backward into the main room. No door, no mirror, no sane exit. So I went for the only thing in the room that looked like a connection. that phone cord disappearing into nothing. I tore the wall plate off again, shoved my fingers into the void behind the drywall. Cold hit me so hard it hurt. Not draft cold, not winter cold, freezer cold, the kind that steals feeling instantly. My fingertips went numb like they'd been slammed at a door. Something brushed my knuckles from inside. Curious, testing, like a tone. I yanked my hand back and slammed my flat head into the hole like I could stab emptiness. The screwdriver hit nothing. No resistance, no wall, no estove, just air deep enough that my arm could have gone into the elbow if I'd been stupid enough. Then the voice spoke from inside the hole. Close enough, I felt it on my skin like breath. Key, it said. Key, key. My pocket felt heavy all of a sudden. I dug in and pulled out the motel key. Not a card, a brass key with a stamped plastic fob, cheap and scuffed like it had been handed to 1,000 people who didn't want to touch it. The fob said 17 in white numbers. My boss hadn't told me they were still using keys here. He just said rekey it and get out. He'd left the part out where someone was handing me a physical piece of this place like a dare. The gray smear on my thumb darkened, like it soaked deeper under my skin. My hands started sweating around the brass. From the hole, that greedy inhale came again, long and wet, like it could smell the metal. Bring, it said. Bring me back. I wanted to throw the key into the void just to make the voice shut up. I wanted to smash the wall. I wanted to bite my own thumb off if it would stop that smear spreading. Instead, I did what I always do when panic tries to take the wheel. I tried to think. Keys open, keys close, keys also trap. And whatever lived in that void, whatever lived in that painted keyhole on the wall, knew exactly what I did for a living. It knew I was the guy who made things give. It picked me on purpose. I grabbed the plastic fob and snapped it in half. Plastic cracked sharp. The number 17 split down the middle. I threw the pieces into the trash like it mattered. The brass key stayed in my hand. Still warm, still heavy. The hole behind the wall plate widened on its own. Drywall flexed like something pressed a shoulder into it. A low groan came from inside the wall, not with groaning, something else like thick rubber stretching. I backed up, eyes scanning for anything that wasn't a screwdriver or a wrench. Tools are great until you realize you're fighting something that isn't made of meat. By the door, bolted to the wall like a sad little promise, hung a fire extinguisher. Every motel has one. Half of them are expired. This one's gauge needle wobbled in the green like it couldn't decide. I snatched it off the bracket, yanked the pin, and aimed at the hole. My hand shook so hard the nozzle jittered. Back the fuck up, I told the wall like it could be intimidated. From inside the hole, the voice stayed calm. Lost and found. I squeezed the handle. White powder blasted into the cavity. It hit that cold air and puffed back into my face. I coughed, eyes watering. The hiss from the phone choked off like something had inhaled chalk. Not a scream, a gag, like whatever was in their hated dryness. Hated being packed full of something that didn't slide. The hole shuddered. The drywall stiffened. The pressure in the room eased like a fist loosening around my skull. Behind me, the door made a normal click. Not a lock click, just the sound of wood settling. The kind you hear in any building when temperature shifts. Normal. My body didn't wait for permission. I grabbed my tool bag with one hand, extinguisher with the other, and hit the knob. The door opened. The hallway outside looked the same, dim, stale, carpeted, but my boots made noise on it. Real noise. It didn't feel like the floor swallowed sound anymore. I ran down the stairs, skipping steps, almost eating shit at the bottom because my legs were jelly. The lobby was empty. The desk light was on, but nobody sat behind it. A bell sat there, dusty, like it hadn't been rung in years. I slammed through the front door into daylight and sucked air like I'd been underwater. My van sat in the lot with a thin coat of dust like it had been there a week, not 30 minutes. I fumbled the keys, dropped them, cursed, scooped them up with numb fingers, and got inside. I locked the doors 3 times because my brain needed something repetitive to cling to. For a full minute, I just sat there, hands on the steering wheel, staring at the motel. The second floor walkway was empty. No silhouettes, no curtain movement, no sign of anything. Just that buzzing sign out front like an insect stuck in jar. I call my boss. He answered on the third ring with his mouth full, like I'd interrupted lunch. "What?" he said. "Room 17 is fucked," I snapped. "I'm not finishing that job." He sighed like I told him the coffee was lukewarm. "Don't start," he said. "Just change the locks in. There's no wiring to the phone, and it's ringing anyway." I cut in. The TV turned on unplugged. The mirror was leaking. The wall. My throat closed on the last part because saying it out loud made it feel insane. He laughed once. "Short. Mean. You always get dramatic in dumps," he said. "You want hazard pay, say it." My face went hot. That old anger crawled up my neck, the kind that makes you do stupid things just to prove you're not scared. "This isn't hazard," I said. "This is wrong. I'm done." "You're not done," he said, voice sharpening. "You took the job, you finish it. That owner's already paid." "I don't give a shit who paid," I said. "Go do it yourself." Silence. Then his voice dropped into that tone he used when he wanted to remind you he knew things about you. "You still got that license issue hanging over you, right?" he said. "Remember who wrote the letter for you?" My stomach tightened. He wasn't wrong. Years back, some customer had accused me of breaking in. It was bullshit, but bullshit still burns time and money. My boss had smoothed things out. He never let me forget it. "I'm not going back in there," I said. He chewed, swallowed, took his time. "Then bring the key back," he said like it was obvious. "Owner's gonna want it." The word key made my skin prickle. I snapped the fob. I lied because I didn't want him knowing anything true. "It's trash." "You're a locksmith," he said. Like that meant I couldn't be scared. "Stop acting like a pussy." That did it. That made something in me go cold and clean. "Fuck you," I said and hung up. I put the van in gear, tires crunching gravel, and drove away without looking back. I didn't want to see someone in the window. I didn't want to see myself in the window. The whole drive home, my thumb itched where that gray smear sat under the skin. It wasn't paint. It wasn't dirt. It looked like bruising that hadn't decided what color it wanted to be yet. At a stoplight, I rubbed it hard enough to make the skin raw. It didn't fade. It just spread a hair wider, like the skin was absorbing it. When I got home, I washed my hands until my knuckles cracked. I used dish soap, then hand soap, then rubbing alcohol. The gray mark stayed. That night, I tried to drink myself into sleep. I kept the TV off. I kept my phone face down. I left every light on and still felt like the dark was hiding behind my eyes. My girlfriend, Jess, came home around 9, took one look at me sitting on the couch with my tool bag at my feet like a guard dog, and frowned. "You look like shit," she said. "Long day?" I told her. She set her purse down and immediately spotted my thumb. She grabbed my hand before I could pull away. "What the hell is that?" she asked. "It's nothing." "It's not nothing," she said, rubbing at it with her own thumb. "It looks like soot under your skin." "Stop." I snapped sharper than I meant. She froze, eyes narrowing. "Okay. Wow. Nice." "I'm sorry," I said, rubbing my face. I am tired." Jess didn't do coddling. That's why I loved her. She didn't soothe. She confronted. "What happened?" she asked. "Work," I said. "Work doesn't make you sit here like you're waiting for a bomb to go off." I almost told her. The words got stuck in my teeth. How do you explain a phone ringing through a wall? A mirror sweating oil? A thing that looked like you crawling on a TV screen? You sound like a liar or a lunatic either way. So I did what men do when they're ashamed of fear. He lied sideways. "Some hotel was sketchy," I said. "Squatter shit. I got spooked. That's all." Jess studied me like she was deciding whether to believe it. Then she let go of my hand. "Whatever," she said. "You want dinner?" I shook my head. She went into the kitchen, banged cabinets a little harder than necessary, and started cooking. The normal sounds helped. Knife on cutting board. Pan on burner. The hiss of oil. Reality noises. At 3:07 a.m., my phone rang. Not the normal ringtone. Not vibration. A slow, heavy bell sound, like the one that had rung through the wall in room 17. My eyes snapped open so hard my neck cramped. I hadn't even realized I'd fallen asleep on the couch. The phone screen lit up, face down, and I saw the glow spill across the coffee table. No caller ID. It rang once, twice. Each ring made my skin tighten like it was being pulled. I didn't answer. I slid the phone off the table with 2 fingers like it might bite and tossed it onto the couch cushion. It rang again. Then the smart speaker in the kitchen lit up blue. Jess had bought it because she liked saying play music while she cooked. I hated it. I hated the way it listened even when it wasn't supposed to. I hated the little light that made it feel alive. It lit up anyway, and in that thin gravel voice, it spoke. Lost and found, it said. Bring me back. I shot to my feet so fast my vision blurred. I sprinted into the kitchen and yanked the speaker's power cord out of the wall. The light stayed on. It kept talking like the motel had taught it a new rule. Bring me back. My phone stopped ringing. My front door lock clicked. I froze, staring at the deadbolt like it was a gun aimed at my face. I watched the thumb turn begin to rotate, slow, like an invisible hand twisted it from the outside. I moved on instinct. I ran to the door and shoved my body against it, shoulder planted, feet braced. I grabbed the thumb turn and forced it back. The metal fought me, not like a jam, like another hand was gripping the other side and twisting against me. In the hallway outside my apartment, something scraped the carpet. Soft. Vet. Lika dragging. Jess stumbled out of the bedroom, hair a mess, eyes half closed. What the? Go back, I hissed at her. What is happening? She demanded, voice climbing. Go back. I said again, louder, and she flinched. Good. I needed her to. The smart speaker whispered from the kitchen, calmer now, like it had all the time in the world. You open, it said. So open. My stomach dropped. Cold slid under the door. Not air, not draft. A feeling, like the gap at the bottom of the door, suddenly opened onto that freezer void behind the motel wall. The scraping outside stopped, right on the other side of the door, close enough that my skin crawled with the awareness of it. Jess stood behind me now, barefoot on the hardwood, eyes wide. Is someone out there? She whispered. Don't, I said. Don't talk. Why? Because it listens, I snapped. That made her shut up. I grabbed my toolbox from the closet with one hand while keeping my shoulder pressed to the door. I dropped to my knees and started stripping screws out of my own deadbolt like a man defusing a bomb. The whole time my shoulder stayed planted, holding the door shut against whatever pressure kept pulsing through it. Jess knelt beside me. Tell me what to do, she said, voice shaking but steady enough that it hurt my chest. Get a chair, I said. Wedge it. Now. She ran. I ripped the deadbolt out, leaving a raw hole through my own front door. The air on the other side felt too cold, even through that hole like it was breathing at me. I jammed a long screwdriver through the cavity into the frame, pinning what I could. It looked desperate because it was. I shoved a second screwdriver in at an angle until it bit wood and held. The pressure eased like whatever hand had been twisting the thumb turn let go. Jess slammed a chair under the knob, wedged it hard, then backed away like the door might bite her. We stood there in the living room, breathing loud, staring at the front door like it was going to sprout a mouth. The speaker in the kitchen kept glowing blue. Bring me back, it said, soft as a lullaby. My phone began to ring again from the couch cushion, that heavy bell sound rolling through the apartment like a pulse. Jess grabbed my arm. We're calling the cops, she said. They can't do anything, I said. You don't know that. I do, I said, but my voice cracked on the second word. She stared at me like she finally saw the fear under all my stubbornness. What did you do? She whispered. I didn't do anything, I said, and then, because lying felt like choking, I added, I went to a motel today. Room 17. Something got on me. Jess looked at my thumb again. The gray smear had spread to the side of my finger, faint, but they're like a bruise blooming. She swallowed. So what now? My eyes drifted to the bathroom door. I didn't want to look. I did anyway. From inside, faint but clear, came a sound I knew too well. Drip, Drip, drip. Jess heard it too. Her grip tightened on my arm. I walked to the bathroom on legs that didn't feel like mine. Each step felt like I was walking into a memory instead of a room. The drip hit porcelain in a steady rhythm. Our bathroom mirror, cheap medicine cabinet, slightly crooked, speckled with toothpaste, had a gray streak running down it like a wet thumb had dragged from top to bottom. The streak matched my skin. In the glass, behind my reflection, I saw a door that wasn't there in real life. A motel door, crooked number, 17. I didn't blink. I didn't breathe. I watched my reflection lift its hand. Not me. The reflection. It pressed its palm flat against the glass from the inside. The glass bowed outward like rubber. Just made a sound behind me, a strangled little inhale. I lifted my hand toward the mirror without thinking, and my palm hovered an inch from the glass. The mirror pushed outward harder, as if meeting me halfway. I backed away like I'd touched fire. No, you whispered. The reflection smiled. Not a grin, not teeth, just a sagging mouth pulling wider like skin stretching. And that calm voice spoke from somewhere that wasn't the room, wasn't the speaker, wasn't the phone. Key, it said. You took my key. That's when the shape of it clicked in my head, ugly and simple. It wasn't haunting room 17. It was haunting the act, the turn, the click, the moment something goes from closed to open. It lived in that thin gap where locks give, where doors stop being barriers and become invitations. And I'd built my whole life on making that moment happen. I grabbed the hammer out of my toolbox. Jess flinched like I was about to do something stupid. I need you to go to the bedroom, I told her. Shut the door. Lock it. I'm not leaving you, she said. Jess, I snapped, then softened because I could hear myself, could hear the terror turning me into an asshole. Please, go. If something comes through, I don't want it seeing you. Her eyes shined with angry tears. If something comes through, it's already seen me, she said, and she wasn't wrong. The mirror bowed again like something leaned into it from the inside, testing. I raised the hammer and slammed it into the glass. The mirror didn't shatter. It flexed like I'd hit a drum head and shoved the hammer back at me, so hard it almost flew out of my hand. The impact rattled up my arm to my shoulder, numbing it. My knuckles split where the hammer handle bit. Jess screamed my name. The reflection's mouth moved without sound, like it was speaking behind thick plastic. The voice came anyway, closer, almost affectionate. Lost and found. I backed away, panting, hammer raised, and the mirror followed me with that bulging pressure, like the whole cabinet door wanted to come off its hinges and step out. I turned away from it because I couldn't stand looking at my own face turning into that sagging thing. I want to work on every lock in my apartment like a man tearing out teeth. Deadbolt, chain, window latches, cabinet, anything that shut. My hands shook. I missed screws. I cursed. Blood smeared my tools. Jess hovered in the doorway, alternating between yelling at me and watching the bathroom like she expected it to open and swallow us. Stop, she kept saying. Stop, you're making it worse. I don't know what worse looks like. I snapped back. I don't know what the fuck this is. Then we leave, she shouted. And go where? I fired back. Hotels? Friends' houses? Everywhere has doors, Jess. Everywhere has locks. It'll follow the click. That shut her up. Her mouth opened, closed. She looked like she wanted to hit me and hug me at the same time. By sunrise, my place looked like a break-in aftermath. The front door was pinned with a screwdriver jamb and a chair wedged under the knob. The windows had their latches ripped out and taped shut. The bedroom door had its lock removed entirely, just a hollow hole. The bathroom mirror still bulged when you looked at it, like skin stretched over a frame. Jess didn't sleep. Neither did I. We sat in the living room with the lights on and the smart speaker unplugged but still glowing faintly blue, like an ember that wouldn't die. At some point, Jess whispered, "What does it want?" I stared at my thumb, at the gray stain, at the way it seemed to pulse when the apartment got quiet. "It wants the key," I said. Jess swallowed. "Do you have it?" I hadn't checked my pocket since the motel. I didn't want to. I dug in anyway, fingers trembling. Brass. Heavy. Warm. I pulled it out. The plastic fob was gone, snapped and thrown away in room 17. But the brass key sat in my palm like it had always belonged there. Like it had never been separate from me. Jess stared at it like it was radioactive. "Get rid of it," she whispered. "I tried," I said. "I threw the pieces." Throw that," she snapped, pointing at the key itself. "Throw out the window. Down the garbage chute. Anywhere." The smart speaker's blue light brightened like it hurt her. "Bring me back," the voice said, soft and pleased. I clenched my fist around the key until the teeth cut into my palm. Outside, the hallway of our building was waking up. Footsteps, a door closing, someone's TV. Normal life continuing like it didn't care that my apartment had turned into a goddamn pressure cooker. My phone, cracked from when I'd thrown it, buzzed on the couch cushion. The screen lit up with a voicemail notification. My boss. I didn't want to listen. The idea of his voice in my apartment made my stomach twist. Jess grabbed the phone and hit play before I could stop her. My boss's voice filled the room, casual as hell, like he was calling about an oil change. "Hey," he said, "room 17's open again, so get your ass over here." Jess looked at me, horrified. "Open again?" I stared at the key in my hand. The smart speaker whispered, almost like a giggle. "Open." Something in the wall behind us rang. Not the phone, not the speaker. Inside the drywall, deep and slow, that heavy bell tone rolled through the studs like a heartbeat. Jess backed away until she hit the kitchen counter, hand over her mouth. I listened, cold sweat sliding down my spine. The ringing wasn't just in one wall. It moved, left to right, like something walking through the apartment inside the walls. Bell in hand, searching. Underneath it, like a clerk calling a number in a waiting room, that thin gravel voice repeated the same thing over and over, patient, certain, like time didn't apply to it. "Lost and found. Lost and found. Bring me back." The words bounced around my apartment like a bad jingle you can't unhear. The ringing kept sliding through the walls. Left, right behind the TV, under the floor, like something was pacing inside the studs with a bell in its hand, tapping its route, checking corners, making sure I understood the layout of my own home didn't matter anymore. Jess pressed her back to the counter, pale, eyes wide and wet. She kept looking from my fist to my face like she was trying to decide which one was real. "Put it down," she whispered, nodding at the brass key in my palm. "Just put it down." "I can't," I said. That wasn't a dramatic line. It was the truth. My hand wouldn't open. My fingers had locked around the key like a cramp, like the metal had a hook in my bones. In the bathroom, the mirror bowed outward again, slow and hungry, like it was breathing through glass. The cabinet hinges creaked like teeth. The ringing moved closer to the bathroom wall, as if it liked that sound, as if it knew where the thin spots were. Jess swallowed hard. "We're leaving." "We can't," I said again, and she snapped. "Stop saying that," she hissed, suddenly furious. "Stop deciding for both of us. If you're scared, fine. If you're losing your mind, fine. But I'm not staying here listening to..." She cut off as the bell tone rolled right under her feet, rattling the silverware drawer. Her voice dipped. Whatever the hell that is. The smart speaker, unplugged, glowed brighter. The blue light pulsed like a heartbeat. "Bring me back," the voice said, and it didn't sound like it came from the speaker this time. It sounded like it came from inside Jess's mouth, like it was borrowing her lungs. Jess clamped both hands over her lips, eyes huge, terrified she'd speak again. I backed away from her like she was contagious. I hated myself for it. I hated how fast my fear turned everyone into a threat. But that voice had already proven it could ride anything that connected. Phones, speakers, walls. Why not people? The bell tone slowed. 1, 2, 3. Each ring landed in a different part of the apartment, like it was testing resonance. I forced my fingers open by prying them with my other hand, like I was peeling myself apart. The brass key dropped into my palm, slick with sweat and blood from where the teeth had bitten me. Jess stared at it like it was a severed finger. "Give it to me," she said too fast. "No," I said also too fast. Her jaw clenched. "You don't trust me." "I don't trust anything." I snapped back and saw the hurt hit her face like a slap. She took a shaky breath, trying to keep her voice steady. "Then what? You're just going to stand here holding it until it opens something on its own?" The word opens made the bathroom mirror bulge harder. The glass bowed outward so far it looked like it might pop free and spring into the room like a trap. The voice, calm as paperwork, said, "Lost and found." I did the only thing I could think of to keep my hand from shaking apart. I shoved the key into my tool bag and zipped it up like I was putting a snake in a sack. The bell tone stopped. Not gone. Stopped like it was listening. The sudden quiet made my ears ring. My whole body vibrated with the absence of sound. Jess exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for an hour. "Okay," she said, voice thin. "Okay, we're leaving. Right now." I opened my mouth to argue, but the apartment felt smaller every second, like the walls were inching in. The air had that copper cleaner taste again. The gray smear on my thumb tingled. "Fine," I said. "Get shoes." Jess sprinted to the bedroom. I stood in the living room, staring at my own front door, pinned, wedged, stripped of its deadbolt like a mouth missing teeth. The chair under the knob creaked, even though nothing touched it. In my head, I saw room 17's door refusing to open even when the knob moved. Would acting like wall. The thought slid cold down my spine. What if leaving wasn't about doors and locks at all? What if it was about consent? What if the moment I stepped into the hallway, the click would happen anyway? Some invisible latch giving, some boundary moving, and I'd be opening myself. Jess came back with shoes on, hoodie zipped, keys in hand. Her eyes flicked to my tool bag. "Do you have it?" "Yeah," I said. "Good. Then we dump it." "We can't just." She cut me off. "Yes, we can. We can throw it in the river. We can drive to the landfill and bury it. We can." The smart speaker glowed brighter, as if it loved the list. I grabbed Jess's wrist. "Don't say places," I hissed. "Don't say plans out loud." She yanked away. "You're not the only person in this apartment," she snapped. "And you don't get to turn me into a hostage to your weird work bullshit." The words weird work bullshit stung because they were close enough to true to make me defensive. "It's not bullshit," I said, louder than I meant. Jess's eyes flashed. "Then tell me what it is." I couldn't. Not cleanly. Not without sounding insane. And the second I hesitated, the bell tone rang once, soft, right behind my ear. "Spoon." Nothing. Jess saw my face change. She went quiet. We moved. We shoved the chair away from the door, pulled the screwdrivers out like we were unpinning a coffin. My hands were slick. My thumb throbbed. The gray stain looked darker, like bruising getting bold. I cracked the door open. The hallway outside looked normal. Beige walls. Stained carpet. Somebody's doormat with a stupid welcome sign. A faint smell of fried food from someone's apartment. Normal. Too normal. I waited for the cold. For the bell. Nothing. Jess stepped out first, because she was braver than me in the way that matters. She didn't look back. She just walked like she expected the building to behave. I followed, tool bag slung over my shoulder, every nerve screaming. We made it to the elevator. The doors opened with a ding that made my stomach drop, because it sounded too much like a bell. Jess jabbed the lobby button. As the doors started to close, the bell tone rang again. This time it came from inside the elevator walls. The metal vibrated under my palm. A slow, heavy ring, muffled like it was happening in the next car over. Jess's face drained. "No," she whispered. The elevator doors paused mid-close like someone was holding them. A voice, soft and patient, came from the speaker grill above us, where elevator music should have been. "Lost and found." Jess slapped the open door button. Nothing. I lunged forward and shoved my hand between the doors like a moron. The metal clamped tight enough to pinch skin, but it didn't reopen. It held, pressing like it wanted to bite my arm off clean. The voice continued, calm, bureaucratic. "Bring me back." The elevator started to descend anyway, doors still half open, my hand still wedged. Pain shot my wrist. I yank hard. Skin tula. Blood smear the metal. Jess grabbed my shoulder. Stairs, she gasped. We bolted. Down the stairwell, boots thudding, fluorescent lights buzzing, the echo of our breath bouncing around the concrete like a chase scene. The bell tone followed us, not loud, never loud, just steady like a metronome keeping time with my panic. On the third floor landing, Jess tripped. I caught her by the hoodie and yanked her up so hard she yelped. "Keep moving," I said. "I'm trying," she snapped, tears in her voice. On the second floor, the bell tone rang from inside the cinder block wall right beside the stairs, so close my teeth rattled. Jess screamed, a short, sharp sound she couldn't swallow in time. The building went quiet after that scream, like everyone held their breath. And then, from somewhere down the stairwell, someone's door clicked open. A neighbor's voice called, "Everything okay?" Jess froze. I grabbed her elbow and hauled her down another flight before she could answer. I didn't want her speaking to strangers, not when I could feel that thing leaning in through every crack. We burst into the lobby. The front desk guy looked up from his phone, eyebrows raised. A couple sitting on the couch stared. A kid with a backpack paused mid-step. Just didn't look at them. She just sprinted for the glass doors. I followed, heart punching my ribs. The second we hit the sidewalk outside, winter air slapped my face clean and sharp. I sucked it in like it could bleach me. For one breath, it worked. The copper taste faded. Jess bent over with her hands on her knees, trying not to puke. "Okay," she wheezed. "Car." We get in the car. We drive. I nodded because nodding was easier than thinking. We hustled to my van in the lot. The moment I unlocked it, the key fob in my pocket, my normal van keys, felt heavy like it didn't want to turn. The act of unlocking made my skin crawl, like I was doing the crime again. I hesitated. Jess saw. "Don't," she said, voice hard. "Just get us in." I unlocked anyway. The van door opened with a familiar squeak. Jess climbed in. I threw my tool bag on the floor and slid behind the wheel. As soon as I shut the driver's door, the bell tone rang once, deep and close, like the sound lived in the dashboard. Jess clapped her hands over her ears. "It's in here," she whispered. I started the engine. The radio turned on by itself. Static. I slapped it off. It stayed on. Static hissed, then thinned, then a voice right through the speakers like someone calling from a service counter. Lost and found. Jess started sobbing. Not loud, just silent tears rolling down her cheeks like she was trying not to make noise. I jammed my finger into the radio power button until it hurt. Nothing. I ripped the faceplate off like an animal, tearing plastic, yanking wires. The static didn't stop. It just moved, sliding into the air vents, humming through the metal like the van itself had learned the sound. Jess grabbed my wrist. "Stop," she begged. "Please, just drive." I drove. We didn't talk about where. We didn't say street names. We didn't say river or dump or police. We just drove like motion could outpace whatever was crawling along our wiring. 10 minutes into the drive, the bell tone stopped. Not a relief, worse. Like the thing had settled in. Jess stared out the window, wiping her face with the sleeve of her hoodie. "I can't do this," she said quietly. I kept my eyes on the road. "I know. I mean it," she said, voice sharper. "I can't live like this. I can't. I can't listen for a sound in the walls every second. I can't," she swallowed hard. "I can't watch you turn into a person who thinks words are dangerous." I opened my mouth, closed it. My throat hurt. My palm hurt where the motel key teeth had dug in. Everything hurt. "It's not forever," I lied. Jess laughed once, broken. "You don't know that." "No," I admitted. "I don't." A beat of silence. The van's heater blew warm air that smelled like dust. Jess whispered, "What does it want?" I glanced at my tool bag. "The key." "Then give it the key," she said like it was the simplest math in the world. I shook my head. "It doesn't want the key in the trash. It doesn't want it lost. It keeps saying bring me back." Jess turned toward me. "Back where?" I didn't answer because the answer made my stomach drop. Room 17. The place I ran from. The place my boss said was open again. like the motel itself had unlatched. Jess followed my silence. Her voice went small. "You're thinking of going back." "I don't know what else to do," I said. "You could call someone," she insisted. "And say what?" I snapped, then immediately regretted it. I am sorry. What do you tell a cop? That my bathroom mirror is trying to unzip and my walls are ringing like a school bell?" Jess's jaw clenched. "You tell them someone is stalking you. You tell them you're being threatened. You tell them anything." "It's not someone," I said, and felt the words freeze the air between us. Jess stared at me. "Then what is it?" My thumb tingled again, and I glanced down. The gray stain had spread onto the base of my palm, faint as smoke. A little crescent, like the beginning of a keyhole shape. I swallowed hard. "It's the space," I said, hating myself. "The gap between locked and unlocked. It rides that moment." Jess's face twisted like she tasted something bitter. "So what? It's a thing made out of doors." I almost laughed, but no humor came. "I don't know what it's made out of," I said. "I just know it knows me." Jess's voice cracked. "Because you open doors." "Because I open doors," I agreed, and the words felt like a confession. We drove until the city thinned and the roads went quiet, because quiet felt safer even though it shouldn't. I pulled into a grocery store lot because it was bright, cameras everywhere, people coming and going. Normal life as a shield. Jess sat in the van with her arms crossed, eyes red. "Okay," she said. "We dump it. Right here. Right now. You want to bring it back? Fine. But first you try to get rid of it the normal way. Then if it still follows, you do your weird motel pilgrimage." I didn't love her phrasing, but the logic was solid. I dug the brass key out of my tool bag. It looked ordinary in daylight. Just a key. Teeth. Shaft. Cheap brass. If you dropped it on the ground, nobody would think twice. But in my hand, it felt warm. Too warm. Like it held a pulse. Jess pointed toward the trash can by the cart return. "Throw it." I held it over the open window. My fingers refused to let go. Not metaphorically. Physically. The muscles in my hand locked like they were holding onto a railing over a cliff. I tried to pry them open with my other hand. They fought me. Tendons stood out. My wrist trembled. Jess's eyes widened. "Oh my God, I'm trying," I hissed through clenched teeth. The bell tone rang once, soft, from somewhere under the dashboard, like a warning. Lost and found, the van speakers whispered, even though I'd ripped the radio half apart. Jess flinched. Okay, don't." I pulled the key back into my lap, shaking. Jess stared at me for a long second, then looked away like she was trying not to see the answer. "It won't let you," she said. "It won't," I agreed. We sat there in a parking lot full of normal people, and I felt like we were wearing a smell only monsters could detect. Jess wiped her nose. "Then you go back," she said, voice flat. "You take it back to where it belongs." "And you?" I asked. Jess didn't look at me. "I'm not going to that motel." The words hit like a punch, even though I deserved them. "Jess." "I'm not," she repeated, and this time she looked at me, eyes hard. "You want to go feed whatever the hell this is? Fine, but I'm not walking into a place that turns mirrors into mouths." I nodded slowly, because pushing her would break something. "Okay," I said. "Okay, I'll drop you at your sister's." Jess's laugh was bitter. "Don't say places," she said, mocking me. And then her face crumpled because she wasn't mocking me. She was scared too. I drove her to the nearest place that was not ours, and we didn't say the address out loud. And that felt like surrendering a piece of myself I didn't want to give up. In the car, Jess finally whispered, "Are you coming back?" I wanted to tell her yes with certainty. I wanted to make it clean. Instead, I told her the truth shaped like hope. "I'm going to try," I said. She leaned over and kissed my cheek, quick like touching a hot pan. "Don't be a hero," she whispered. "Just don't be stubborn." "I'm only alive because I'm stubborn," I said, trying to smile. She didn't smile back. "That's what I'm afraid of," she said. When she got out of the van, she paused with her hand on the door. Her eyes dropped to my hand, to the faint gray crescent creeping onto my palm. "Wash it," she said softly. I tried. "Try again," she said, then shut the door and walked away without looking back. The second she disappeared, the bell tone rang twice, slow and pleased, like it approved of me being alone. I gripped the steering wheel so hard my fingers cramped. "All right," I muttered, not to the key, not to the thing, but to myself. "All right, you want back? You get back." The drive to Sunset Pines felt longer than it should have, like the road kept folding into itself. My GPS flickered twice, then went black. Good. I didn't want a screen telling me where to go. I already knew. That was the sick part. I could have driven there with my eyes closed. My hands remembered the route, like muscle memory from a nightmare. As the city fell away and the landscape turned into bare trees and empty lots, the copper taste came back. The van heater blew warm air that smelled like pennies. The bell tone didn't ring anymore. It didn't need to. It sat in my passenger seat as a presence, as heavy as the brass key in my lap. I pulled in the motel lot just before dusk, the sky the color of bruised snow. The sign buzzed. Half the letters were dead. Sun ET Pin S. No cars. No lights in the windows. Just that empty second-floor walkway, that dim hallway that never saw sun. My throat tightened. I parked facing the building so I wouldn't have to back out blind. Habit. Survival. I killed the engine and listened. No ice machine. No teves. No distant voices. Just the faint hum of the sign, and from somewhere inside the building, one slow bell ring. It echoed like the place was hollow. I grabbed my tool bag and a brass key. My palm itched where the gray mark spread, and when I looked down, I saw it clearer now. A circle with a line through it, like the carved symbol in the bathroom wall. Not fully formed, but there under my skin like a bruise shaped by intent. "Fuck," I whispered. The motel door to the office lobby was unlocked. That alone made my stomach drop, because nothing here should be unlocked. Not after what it was. I pushed it open with my shoulder. The lobby smelled like stale carpet and old coffee. A bell sat on the counter, dusty. The key hooks behind the desk were empty, like nobody checked anyone in anymore. A TV in the corner played static with the volume down low, like it was trying not to be rude. I walked up to the counter. "Hello." I called. Nothing. Behind the desk, an open ledger sat on the counter. The pages were filled with handwriting, but when I leaned closer, my vision blurred, like the ink didn't want to be read. I could see dates, though, rows and rows of entries. And next to them, always the room number. 17. Sometimes it had names. Sometimes it didn't. Sometimes the name line was scribbled out hard enough to tear paper. My skin crawled. I stepped back. A door behind the desk led to the back office. It was slightly open. Darkness inside. From that darkness, the clerk's calm voice floated out. "Lost and found," it said. My knees almost buckled. I gripped the counter edge. "You're not real," I said, because denial is a reflex. The voice didn't argue. It didn't threaten. It just repeated, patient. "Bring me back." I backed away from the counter and turned toward the hallway that led to the stairs. Every step into that hallway felt like walking into the TV image. Same carpet pattern, same dead light fixtures, same swallowing quiet. Halfway down, I noticed something I hadn't seen earlier, because fear narrows your world. The carpet was stained in a long smear, dark and glossy, like something wet had been dragged across it. It led toward the stairs. My stomach twisted. I followed it because of course I did. Curiosity is another kind of stupidity. At the bottom of the stairs, the smear ended at a wall. Just blank wall. No door. But the wall had 4 rusty screw holes in a rectangle shape, and the paint inside that rectangle was darker. Like a mirror had been there once. I swallowed bile. The second-floor hallway waited above me like a throat. I climbed. Each step creaked too loud. My breath sounded obscene. My tool bag bumped my thigh with each step, a steady thump like a heartbeat. At the top, the hallway stretched dead and dim. Room numbers marched along the doors. 11, 12, 13, 16, and then 17. The door to 17 was slightly open. Not wide, just a crack, like someone had left it for me. Cold rolled out of that crack, not air feeling. That same freezer void cold I'd felt behind the phone plate. I stood there staring at the crack and realized something small and horrible. I wasn't deciding anymore. The motel had already decided. I moved anyway. I pushed the door. It swung open without resistance, like it was happy to see me. The room looked the same as before, bedspread tucked, TV on the dresser, curtains shut, except the curtains weren't shut all the way. A thin sliver of gray light slipped through, like the room wanted to remember what outside looked like. The air conditioner hummed, still unplugged. The motel phone sat on the nightstand. Its message light blinked. The bathroom door stood open, and where the mirror had been, there was now a mirror. Not mounted, not hung, just there. A rectangle of glass floating in the paint rectangle, held by nothing, as if the wall had grown it, and the mirror was wet. It dripped slow, oily beads into the sink. I stepped inside like a man stepping onto thin ice. The TV turned on without me touching it. Static loud. Then the picture pushed through. The hallway. Low camera angle. Door 17 in frame. And there, at the end of the hall, something stood. Not crawled. Stood. A person-shaped thing with shoulders too narrow, arms too long, head cocked at an angle that made my neck ache in sympathy. It stood in front of the camera, blocking the hallway view. And it looked like me. Or like the version of me you'd see if you looked in a mirror while drowning. Its eyes were too wide. Its skin had that gray cast. Its mouth sagged at one side like it couldn't remember how to hold itself up. On the TV, it lifted its hand and waved slow. The motel phone rang. A slow, heavy bell. I didn't pick it up. I didn't need to. The voice spoke from everywhere at once. Phone, TV, bathroom, inside the walls. "You took my key," it said. "I brought it back." I rasped and held up the brass key like an offering, like a peace treaty. The thing on the TV smiled wider. "Bring," it said. "Bring me back. I'm here." I snapped, anger flaring because fear makes anger feel useful. "I'm in your shitty room. What else do you want?" The bathroom mirror bulged outward, the glass bowing like rubber. My reflection in it, my real reflection, lifted its hand. Not me, the reflection. I stumbled backward, heart trying to claw out of my chest. The reflection pressed its palm to the inside of the glass. The glass flexed outward toward me like it wanted to meet my skin. The voice stayed calm. "Key," it said. I looked down at my palm. The symbol under my skin, the circle with a line, burned like a bruise being pressed. My hand shook. Then, without me deciding, my thumb moved. The brass key in my hand rotated, teeth pointing toward the mirror. I felt the key pulling like a magnet finding its mate. "No," I said, and tried to fight my own wrist. My wrist fought back. The motion wasn't violent. It was gentle, like guiding a child's hand, like teaching me how to do it. "You open," the voice said, and this time it didn't sound like an accusation. It sounded like instruction, like a job description. My hand extended toward the mirror. The reflection's palm flattened harder against the glass from inside, as if it sensed the key approaching. The glass bowed out so far it looked like it could kiss my knuckles. Cold spilled from it. That freezer void cold, thick and hungry. I planted my feet and tried to pull my arm back. My arm kept going forward. My fingers wrapped around the key tighter, knuckles whitening, because some part of me still thought grip meant control. The key's teeth touched the glass. The glass didn't clink. It swallowed. The brass sank into it like the mirror was thick syrup. My stomach lurched. The cold hit my fingertips so hard my nails ached. The reflection's mouth moved, silently laughing. The voice whispered, pleased. Lost and found. The mirror surface rippled around the key like water. The gray smear on my hand surged up my wrist, not like ink spreading in water, like something crawling under my skin fast. Pain flared, hot and cold at once, like frostbite and burn. I yanked back with a guttural noise I didn't recognize as mine. The key came free with a wet pop, and a strand of clear, oily liquid stretched between the key and the mirror like saliva. I stumbled backward, panting, shaking, staring at the key like it had bitten me. The bathroom mirror bulged outward again, harder, like it was angry now, like it wanted the key back inside. The thing on the TV wasn't in the hallway anymore. It was at the door, right outside room 17. Its face filled the screen. My face distorted wet. It opened its mouth, and the static sound dropped to silence. Then the bell tone rang from inside the wall behind me, so close it made my vision blur. I spun, and the wall plate where the phone cord vanished, where there was nothing, was already off. The drywall hole behind it had widened. Coal poured out, and inside that hole, in that black freezer void, I saw a glint. A ring of brass. A key. Not mine. Dozens. Hundreds. Keys hanging in darkness like teeth in a jaw. The voice came from inside that hole, not loud, not threatening, patient. "Bring me back," it said. That's when it clicked what back meant. Not the motel, not the room. Back into the system. Back into the lost and found pile, where keys stop belonging to people and start belonging to the place. Where every key is just a tool that opens the next door. I backed toward the exit, tool bag swinging, heart hammering. The front door was right there. Just a few steps. I ran for it. The door swung inward before I touched it. Like it was inviting me. Like it wanted me to run out and spread this to the next lock. I skidded to a stop, so hard my boots squealed on carpet. Behind me, the mirror bulged. The wall hole breathed. The bell tone rang again, deeper, closer. The voice whispered, almost tender, "You open doors." I turned, shaking, and stared at the brass key in my hand. If I left with it, it followed. It rode the click. It rode me. If I stayed and gave it what it wanted, I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what it would take. I didn't know what it would leave of me. But I understood one thing with sick clarity. I was already marked. The symbol under my skin wasn't going to wash off. I could feel it pulsing like it synced with the bell. I swallowed hard and looked into the bathroom mirror. My reflection stared back, eyes too wide, mouth sagging slightly. Not as bad as the TV version. Not yet. I lifted my hand slowly. My reflection lifted too. Then my reflection smiled a fraction wider than I did. The voice sighed from inside the walls, a greedy inhale. "Key," it said. I stepped toward the mirror like a man walking to the edge of a roof. "You want it?" I whispered. "You fucking want it?" The mirror bulged in answer. I took the brass key and did the one thing I hadn't tried because it felt too much like giving in. I turned it in my hand until the teeth faced my palm, and I drove it into the gray symbol under my skin. Brass teeth pierced skin. Pain exploded white behind my eyes. Blood ran warm. I bit back a scream, so hard my jaw cramped. The key sank in like it belonged there. My palm closed around it reflexively, trapping it in my own flesh. The bell tone stopped. Everything stopped. The humming AC cut out. The TV went black. The mirror stopped, dripping mid-bead, the droplet hanging like a frozen tear. Silence. Not relief silence. Attention silence. Like a whole building holding its breath. Then from inside my hand, inside the hole I'd made, something clicked. Not the key clicking against bone. A lock. A latch giving. Cold rushed up my arm, into my shoulder, into my chest like a hand plunging into my ribs. I gagged, knees buckling, and I felt the world tilt like the room was turning and I was the thing staying still. The bathroom mirror rippled. My reflection leaned forward from inside, not touching glass, just leaning as if the mirror was air now. It spoke without moving its lips. "Found you," it said, and the words came out of my own throat. I clamped my mouth shut, panicked, but the voice kept coming, sliding past my teeth like smoke. "Found you in 17. My vision tunneled. The air tasted like pennies. The motel room stretched, distances bending like before. The door felt miles away. The ceiling pressed down. The carpet pattern swam. I fell to my knees by the sink, gripping my bleeding hand, staring at the mirror. In the glass, the reflection's hand lifted. It wasn't copying me. It was leading. It pressed its palm against the inside of the mirror, and this time the glass didn't bow outward. It opened, not like a door swinging, like the surface softened and made space. Like the boundary between reflection and room became negotiable. A gray, wet hand emerged. Fingers too long, nails black. It touched the brass, key lodged in my palm. The contact was so cold, it stole my breath. I tried to yank away. My body didn't listen. The hand wrapped around the key like it knew exactly how to hold it, like it had been holding it forever. It pulled. The key slid out of my flesh with a wet sound that made my stomach flip. Blood poured, hot and bright. The hand didn't care. It held the key up between us, admiring it like jewelry. Then it turned the key toward the mirror and inserted it. The mirror surface accepted it like it had been made for it. The hand twisted. A click sounded deep and final like a vault ceiling. The cold in my chest released all at once, and I sucked air and so heart hurt. The motel room snapped back into normal proportions like a rubber band. The TV stayed off. The phone stayed silent. The AC stayed unplugged and dead. The mirror hung on the wall like an ordinary mirror again. Mounted, solid, no bulge, no drip. The gray hand withdrew back into the glass like it was slipping underwater. Before it disappeared, it lifted one finger, slow, and pointed at me. Not accusing, tagging. Then it vanished. The mirror showed my face again, normal enough that it made me dizzy. My palm bled. The symbol under my skin was darker now, like scar tissue, already forming. I sat there on the bathroom tile, shaking so hard my teeth clicked, trying to understand if I'd won. The bell tone rang once, not from the motel wall, from inside my chest. It wasn't loud. It was internal, a vibration I felt in my ribs. Then, faintly under that internal ring, I heard something else. A second, fainter ring, like another phone ringing along with mine. I crawled out of the bathroom and staggered into the main room. The door to 17 was open. The hallway outside looked normal. Empty. Dim. I stood, swaying, and took one step into the hallway. The carpet muffled my boots the way it should. Nothing grabbed me. Nothing rang. The motel didn't breathe. I made it down the stairs, through the lobby, out into the cold dusk. My van sat where I left it. I climbed in, hands shaking, palm wrapped in a torn rag from my tool bag, blood already soaking through. I started the engine. The radio stayed off. The heater blew warm air. For a full minute, nothing happened. I laughed once, a harsh sound that tasted like salt and copper. "Okay," I whispered. "Okay, that's it. That's..." My phone, dead and smashed from earlier, buzzed in my pocket. I froze. It buzzed again. I pulled it out with trembling fingers. The screen was shattered. The battery should have been gone. But the glass lit up anyway, dim and gray, like a cheap motel TV trying to show a picture through snow. No caller ID. It rang with that slow, heavy bell. I didn't answer. The bell tone kept ringing anyway, not just from the phone now, from the van doors, the dashboard, the steering column, like the whole vehicle had a bell inside it. The voice came through, softer than before, almost polite. "Lost and found," it said. "Bring me back." My throat went dry. I stared at my bleeding palm. The gray symbol was there, clearer now, like a stamp burned under skin, like a keyhole that didn't need a mirror anymore. I started driving because sitting still felt like dying. All the way home, the ringing stayed low, like it was content, like it had been fed. When I got back to my apartment building, the lobby doors opened as I approached, automatic sensors doing their job, and I flinched at the sound because every opening felt like a mouth now. In the hallway, people's doors clicked. Locks turned. Deadbolts slid. Normal life making normal sounds, and each one stabbed at my nerves. I reached my door. The chair was still wedged under the knob from earlier. The screwdriver still pinned the deadbolt hole like crude bones. Jess's shoes weren't by the mat. The place felt emptier than it should. I stepped inside. The air smelled stale. Lights still on. My torn-up front door looked like I tried to escape a fire. I closed it behind me, slow. The lock hole, Empty stared like an eye. From the bathroom, drip, drip, drip. My stomach dropped. I walked to the bathroom. The mirror was normal. Nobody. No ripes. Just my face and the fluorescent light and the stupid toothpaste specks. I leaned in. In the reflection, behind me, the bathroom door was slightly ajar. In real life, it was wide open. The reflection didn't match. I held my breath. In the mirror, my reflection lifted its hand. Not me, the reflection. It pressed its palm to the glass from the inside. The glass didn't bow like rubber this time. It stayed glass. But I felt pressure anyway, not on the mirror, on my skin, on the symbol under my palm. Like the keyhole stamp was being pushed from the inside. The bell tone rang again, deeper, and I realized it wasn't coming from the walls. It was coming from me. I stumbled back, clutching my hand, and my elbow hit the light switch. The bathroom went dark. In the dark, the mirror became a black rectangle, and in that black rectangle, I saw the faintest glow of blue, like the smart speaker light, like the motel message light. A tiny red dot appeared near the bottom corner of the mirror, blinking, message waiting. My smash phone rang again. I didn't answer. The ringing kept going anyway, slow and heavy, and under it the voice repeated, calm as a clerk calling numbers in a waiting room. Not angry, not excited, just certain like it had all the time in the world and I was the one on the clock. Lost and found. Lost and found. Bring me back.